Hey everyone, welcome back to Raising the Nuts. It's another Thursday, which means it's another Play Every Hand Challenge video here on the channel. This time I'm headed down to Perryville, Maryland to play at the Hollywood Casino. I'm going to be playing 1-3 no limit. Let me tell you a little bit about the Play Every Hand Challenge and how it works. I have to play every hand dealt in unless there is a 3-bet or an all-in in front of me. That's pretty much the only rule. So I'm just putting in money in the pot every single time. This will be the 11th time that I've done the Play Every Hand Challenge. If you'd like to watch the previous videos, check the playlist out here on the right-hand side of the screen. After the 10 sessions I've played so far, I am up $1,219. The goal is to win $2,000, which I will donate to charity if I get to that goal. If you want to follow along with this challenge, please hit the subscribe button right now if you can. That would help out the channel a lot, and these videos will be coming out every Thursday. I arrive at the Hollywood Casino at around 11:30 a.m. on a Wednesday morning. There's only one game going. I do get into the game pretty quickly. It is 7-handed. They got the plexiglass dividers up. They're spraying sanitizer on the chips every hand. Feel pretty comfortable in this environment. As I'm sitting down, the player across the table from me asks if I'm Trevor, and I say yes, and he says, "I like your videos." So this is pretty interesting. It's difficult to do the Play Every Hand Challenge with someone who knows that you're filming at the table and playing every single hand. So I was interested to see how I'd have to adjust if he would be trying to take advantage of this and raising really big with his strong hands. He didn't end up doing that, which was really cool of him. His name was Bobby, and it was great playing with him. He did really well while I was playing, and he played well. We're playing 1-3 no limit. I buy in for the maximum of $500. The table stayed the same the entire time that I played, so I'm going to go around giving nicknames to each player to make it easier for going over the hand histories. So seat 1 is the Gambling Cleaner. Seat 2 is the aforementioned Bobby, who knows me, watches the videos on the channel. Seat 3 is Jets Fan. Seat 4 is Surprise Grandpa. Seat 5 is Sweet Lady. Seat 6 is me, playing every hand. And Seat 7 is Dr. Straight Chips. I don't even get a chance to get settled in or get my camera set up for the preflop action in this hand, but I'm already dealt a premium hand. I got pocket nines. Dr. Straight Chips raises to $15 on the gun. I called him Dr. Straight Chips because he looked like a doctor, and he kept his chips straight up against the glass there, as you see. I defend the big blind with the pocket nines. We take the flop heads up. The flop is King 8-7 with 2 spades. I check. He bets $25. Not loving it against his range under the gun, but I have to call for sure, so I make the call. The turn's a queen, so not a great card for me there either. I check, and he checks back, so that's not the worst thing. The river's the 9 of spades, so we make a set. However, the flush does get there. Jack 10 gets there. I think I need to bet, though, so I bet $40. He says it just kept getting worse, so it sounds like we might have got lucky here, and we scoop the first pot. I'm still trying to get settled in here for hand number 2. I have Jack 3 offsuit, complete the small blind. We have a multi-way limp pot. The flop comes down 10-8-3 rainbow. It checks to Jets Fan in late position. I called him Jets Fan because I thought he was wearing a Jets sweatshirt, but it turned out that it wasn't. It just looked like the emblem over there. So that's what I went with for his name. He bets, and we all fold. Surprise Grandpa limps in the next hand. I gave him that name because he was an older guy, nice older guy, but every time the flop would come out, he'd make a very surprised face and kind of point at the cards on pretty much every flop, which was pretty interesting. He limps in there. Sweet Lady limps. I decided to make it $15 with the 8-5 of spades, which in my opinion is one of the best hands you can be dealt. The Gambling Cleaner calls from the big blind, and Surprise Grandpa and the Sweet Lady both fold, which is what they're going to do. The flop is Jack 6-5, rainbow, 1 spade. Pretty good flop for my hand. I have bottom pair, backdoor flush draw, backdoor straight draw. When he checks, I bet $20, and he gives it up, so I take this pot down. Dr. Straight Chips straddles his button, and the straddle's to $10, so this can get a little sticky because the raise sizes are going to be a little bit bigger. I'm going to have to call with some crappy hands. Jets Fan limps in for $10. I limp in with Jack 8 offsuit, and Dr. Straight Chips makes it $50. Bobby calls, Jets Fan calls, and I decide to get out of the way and fold and not invest any more money with this hand. Surprise Grandpa and Sweet Lady both limp. I limp with Ace 4 offsuit. We end up taking the flop 6 ways. Flop is 8-4-4. That's trips for me with the nut kicker. Pretty good flop. 2 spades on the flop. Checks to me, I bet $15. The Gambling Cleaner makes it $35 on the button. He only has about $150 to $180 or so. His chips are kind of in a mess, so I can't really tell exactly how much he has. But I decided to put in a 3-bet to $90. He doesn't seem like someone who's going to fold, so I just want to get the money in now. Unfortunately, he does fold. I get the nice sanitizer spritz on the chips, and those chips are sent my way. I raise the $10 with Ace 9 offsuit. The Gambling Cleaner calls from the cutoff. We go to the flop heads up. It comes Queen 6-4, 2 spades. I decided to just check fold to his $10 bet. I put the straddle on under the gun. I have Ace 7 of diamonds. There's a couple of limpers, and I make it $40. Got to punish these limpers. Only Dr. Straight Chips makes the call. We take the flop heads up. Comes king jack 3 rainbow 1 diamond. That's a pretty good flop for my hand. I check though, and he bets $100. Feels like he has a good hand, so I just make the snap fold. He does have a good hand. He shows me pocket threes. He flop bottom set. Locked in here early on. Spidey senses are tingling. Seems like there's a lot of limping going on at this table, which is great for me in this challenge. This is another limp pot 4 ways. I have 5-3 offsuit. The flop comes queen 6-3 all spades. We check to the gambling cleaner in late position. He bets and we all fold. I have ace 8 offsuit. Jets fan raises to $15. Sweet lady calls on the button. I make the call from the small blind. And the gambling cleaner calls as well. We take the flop 4 ways. Flop is 8-5-2 rainbow. Decent flop, top pair, top kicker. Checks to Jets fan who bets $25. I call and the gambling cleaner calls behind me. The turn's to 5, bringing a flush draw. I decide to lead here. Not sure how much I like this, but that's what I did in game. So I bet $60. Gambling cleaner folds pretty quickly and the Jets fan calls very quickly as well. Not feeling too good about my hand at this point, honestly. Feels like the Jets fan has an overpair. The river's a 9, so I can consider turning my hand into a bluff in this spot, but I decide not to and just check, and the Jets fan quickly turns over pocket 10s for the win. I'm tired of losing pots, so I decide it's time to win one. I limp behind a couple of limpers with 8-7 offsuit. We go 5 ways to the flop. Comes 8-6-2 all clubs. My opponents all check to me. I decide to bet $15, and only Jets fan makes the call. It's pretty likely I have the best hand. He probably has some kind of weak hand, so I'm going to bet most turn cards, except for a club probably. Turns in offsuit jack. He checks me. I bet $30 and he folds. It's Dr. Straight Chip's button, which means his $10 is out there for the straddle. Gambling cleaner limps in. I limp in with queen 3 offsuit with the power limp there. You can see how strong I look and confident. Dr. Straight Chips checks his button. Flop comes ace 8-4 rainbow. I think I should probably be leading here. I was kind of upset that I didn't in the game because gambling cleaner can have any 2 cards. Dr. Straight Chips probably doesn't have an ace here, so I end up just checking though. Turns a 4, gambling cleaner leads, and we both fold. I don't know about you guys, but I'm fiending for some action. So when surprise grandpa limps under the gun, I make it $15 with 8-4 of hearts. We got to build a pot. Gambling cleaner calls on the button. Jets fan calls in the big blind, and surprise grandpa folds. Flop is 8-7-3 with 2 spades because apparently every flop is going to come 8 high, and I'm always going to have an 8 in my hand. This is the 3rd out of 4 hands in a row that's happened. Jets fan checks. I bet $30. Gambling cleaner calls and Jets fan folds. The turn's offsuit 5. I slow down with a check and he checks back. The river's another 5. I decide to put out a value bet of $35. Gambling cleaner thinks of it. He makes the call. I show my hand. He does the look at the board, look at his hand, look at the board, look at his hand, and then finally throws it into the muck. I limp in with ace 7 offsuit. We take the flop 4 ways. The flop comes ace queen queen with 2 clubs. It checks around. The turn's a king. It checks to me again, so I put out $10. Gambling cleaner makes the call, and surprise grandpa also makes the call. That can't be good. The river's an offsuit 7, and surprise grandpa springs to life with a $10 bet. Now I have a choice here. I can either call this $10 and never ever see those 2 red chips again, or I can just fold and pretend this situation never happened. I choose to fold, as does the gambling cleaner, and surprise grandpa takes that one down. I limp ace 3 offsuit under the gun. Dr. Straight Chips makes it $16. There's a couple of calls. When it gets back to me, I'm just going to fold because if I time it correctly, I'll get kings next hand. Boom, would you look at that? That's an underrated skill that a lot of people won't tell you about. You have to time things appropriately with the way that the dealer is dealing and shuffling. You just got to get a good read on the situation so that you get these premium hands. There's a couple of limpers. I raised to $25 from the big blind with those kings. Dr. Straight Chips and Gambling Cleaner both make the call. We're going to go 3 ways to the flop, out of position. Flop is 9-4-2 rainbow. I bet $30, smaller size bet. Dr. Straight Chips folds pretty quickly, and the Gambling Cleaner decides he wants to play for all of his chips. He's got a little over $100. He shoves. I obviously make the snap call. The turn's a 3, the river's a 2, and my hand is good at showdown. Couple of boring ones to get through here quickly. I complete king 6 offsuit from the small blind, multi-way limp pot, and check fold on 10-8-4. I raise the $10 on the button with jack 6 offsuit. Both blinds call. Flop is queen 8-3 rainbow. Checks to the Gambling Cleaner who leads for $20, and I just fold because I have nothing. Dr. Straight Chips button straddle is on. I limp behind with 8-7 offsuit, and we take the flop 4 ways. The flop is 8-3-3 rainbow. He checks to me. I bet half pot, $20. The Gambling Cleaner calls, and Jets fan calls behind. So I'm pretty much done with this hand unless I can mind trick the dealer into giving me an 8 somewhere on the turn or river. The turn's a 6, so that's not an 8. So when they check to me, I'm just going to check back and hope to really pull that mind trick off. I am successful. Once again, it's an 8 on the river. What do you know? They check to me. I bet $75. The gambling cleaner shrugs and calls. He probably has a 3 in his hand, and then mucks disgustedly when I show the winner. I limp 10-6 offsuit. Dr. Straight Chips makes a raise, and Bobby makes a 3-bet, and I have an easy fold. As you can see, I'm doing a fair bit of limp folding in this episode, as most of the preflop raises are coming to my left, so that's just part of the strategy that I have to employ here. I forgot to get footage of my stack to update after 20 hands. This is the footage from the beginning of the session, so just imagine that about $300 has been added to this stack. So I'm up about $300. After 20 hands, I've won 7 hands and lost 13. I limp in with pocket 3s. Bobby raises to $15. Sweet Lady calls. I call. Flop is King 8-5 all clubs. Not a good flop for me. And just check fold to a bet. I raise to $10 with pretty hand. Ace 9 of clubs. Dr. Straight Chips calls to my left. Gambling Cleaner calls as well. And Sweet Lady calls from the big blind. Flop comes Queen Jack 9 rainbow. So not the greatest flop. Do have some backdoor possibilities. Check it over to the Gambling Cleaner. He bets $15. Sweet Lady calls. So I'm just going to get out of the way here. Don't think I should continue with my hand. The turn ended up being a 9, so I would have made trips, and Gambling Cleaner showed down Queen Deuce off for the win. We're going to zoom through some of these next few hands so we can get to some more entertaining situations. I check my option with 9-7 offsuit in the big blind, multi-way limp pot. It comes King 4-3, 2 diamonds, and we check fold to a bet. There's 2 limpers, and I pick up Ace King offsuit in the small blind, another tier 1 hand, make it $25, and they all fold. Someone needs to go back and do the math and see how many times I've had an ace in my hand over these last 2 videos. It's pretty impressive. I have Ace 3 offsuit here, limp on the button behind the limp from Jets fan, and then just fold to a raise from Dr. Straight Chips. It's Dr. Straight Chips button, so he has the straddle on. I keep wanting to call him Dr. Strong Chips. I'm not sure why, but it sounds awesome also, so I might call him both. Who knows? I limp in with the 6-3 offsuit. He checks his option. We're multi-way. Flop comes 9-8-5 all clubs. I do have the 3 of clubs, and the action checks around. The turn's a jack of clubs, so I make a flush. But when the Gambling Cleaner leads out, I decide to just fold. I limp in with King 5 offsuit. As you can see, I kind of have the ideal seat at this table for the Play Every Hand Challenge because I can just limp in with these trash hands, and if there's any raising, it's going to be coming from the left side of me, so I don't have to call big raises with crap hands. So I limp in here with the King 5 offsuit, another multi-way pot that's a limp pot, Queen 8-5, 2 spades, and Surprise Grandpa reaches for his chips and my cards hit the muck very quickly. I raised to $15 with King Jack offsuit, and almost the entire table calls. I think we end up taking this flop 5 ways. Flop is Ace Deuce Deuce with 2 hearts. Not a great flop for me to bet into 4 other players, so I just check. Dr. Straight Chips bets $30. Gambling Cleaner calls. Sweet Lady calls, and I just get out of the way. Way too many losing hands in a row. I never get dealt good hands ever. Okay, well, I'm back to getting good hands. I have pocket jacks. I raised to $10. Gambling Cleaner calls. Jets fan calls on the button. We're going to take this flop 3 ways. Comes 9-8-6 all spades. I do have the jack of spades. I opt to check and see what develops, and they both check quickly. The turn is an offsuit 4. I bet $20, and their hands hit the muck very quickly. There's a raise to $10. I call with King 5 offsuit from the big blind. We're 4 ways to the flop. It comes 10-9-3, and I check fold to a bet. Another limp multi-way pot as I complete King 4 offsuit from the small blind. Flop comes Jack 8-4. The Gambling Cleaner bets. I just decide to let it go, even though I have bottom pair here. I need to get some action going here, so when I limp behind with 9-5 of spades, and Dr. Strong Chips makes it $15, there's a couple of colors. I'm going to call here, closing the action. Not with a good hand, but with position at least. Flop comes 10-6-4 rainbow. There's 1 spade. When it checks to me, I'm going to take a stab here. I have some good backdoor draws, and everybody's showing weakness. I really feel like I only have to get through Dr. Straight Chips here. So I go ahead and make it $40. The good doctor's having none of this. He makes it $200. Kind of feel like he might be full of it, but I'm not sure enough to go with it, so I just take my medicine and fold. The button straddles on. Gambling Cleaner completes. Bobby makes it $50. I have to call here with Jack 5 of spades. Definitely not an ideal situation, but I have to make the call. We're seeing the flop heads up. We check down King 3 4 7 board. I didn't want to take a stab at as a bluff. I just thought he was going to have a good hand most of the time, and I wasn't going to be able to get him off it. And he did end up having a good hand. He had pocket aces for the win. I have 8-4 offsuit and another multi-way limper, and I check fold to a bet from the Gambling Cleaner on 7-4-3 flop. Another 5-way limp pot. This time I have 7-3 offsuit, and it's been a while since I won a pot, so I'm going to go out of my way to win this one. The flop comes Queen 7-2 rainbow. Nobody seems too interested, so I stab for $15 with my middle pair weak kicker, and everyone folds. I limp in with 8-5 offsuit, 4 ways again to the flop. Comes Ace Queen 10, checks around. Turn King, Surprise Grandpa leads, and we all fold. Back to getting dealt aces in my hand. I have Ace 9 offsuit in the big blind after a bunch of limpers. I check the option. I could definitely raise here, but I just check. Flop comes Ace Queen 10 with 2 clubs. It checks around to Surprise Grandpa. He bets $10. I'm not really loving this situation, but I call. Gambling Cleaner calls behind, as does Jets fan. So we're going 4 ways to this turn, not feeling great about the situation. The turn's a queen, really don't like it now. And it checks to surprise Grandpa. He's got the $10 out and ready to go, and I just fold and get out of the way of this one. The Gambling Cleaner ended up making the call, and then the river was a king, and the Gambling Cleaner check folded to another $10 bet. So maybe surprise Grandpa is just bluffing us every hand, I think. What do you know? I have another ace, and this time it's a strong one. I have ace queen offsuit. There's a couple of limps, and Jets fan makes it $15. When it gets to me, I have a decision. He hasn't really raised pre-flop that often, but I have a hand I think that I want to play heads up if I can against him. So I make it $50. Unfortunately, Dr. Straight Chips is having none of that, and he cold calls the $50. Jets fan calls as well, so we're going to take this flop 3 ways out of position. I'm realizing this now as I look back, but the last 2 boards were ace queen 10 flops. Now I have ace queen in my hand. There was all kinds of big cards on the board. I wonder if the dealer's not shuffling that well. It seems like it, right? Well, this flop comes ace 10 2. So I flop top pair. There is a flush draw, 2 hearts on the flop. I decide to bet $50 and see what's up, and both of my opponents make the call. Normally I'd feel pretty good about this spot, but there have not been a lot of big pots played at this table, so when people are putting in chips, it's a little concerning, especially when you get 2 callers here. Obviously I have a really good hand though, so when the offsuit 6 comes, I'm not too concerned, but I slow down with the check because I feel like I can get a little more information based on what my opponents do. Dr. Straight Chips checks, and Jets fan bets $100. Now again, this is a big bet size, not relative to the size of the pot, but for the game. There hasn't been this many big bet sizes in the game, so I call and see what happens on the river. Dr. Straight Chips folds behind. The river is an offsuit 10, so interesting card. I wouldn't expect him to have a 10 too often. I check, and he bets $200. So this is what it all comes down to. This is where poker's at. You got to stare the man in the eye and decide whether he's bluffing or not. What do you guys think? Let me know down in the comments if you think he's bluffing, if you think he has a hand that we can beat here. Give me your thoughts. I went with a field play here and folded. Didn't feel like he was bluffing. Didn't think he was value betting a worse hand. And having the queen of hearts in my hand does block a lot of the hands that I want him to be bluffing with. So I feel okay with that fold, and we move on to the next spot. This next hand is a really interesting hand. I think there's a bunch of different decision points that can be discussed. I have another ace once again somehow. I have ace 3 of clubs. I'm still probably trying to shake off the last hand and decide to just limp behind on the button after a bunch of limpers. I could definitely be raising this hand. Probably should be raising this hand. We go 5 ways to the flop. It comes 8-4-3 with 2 clubs, so bottom pair and the nut flush draw. The small blind, Dr. Straight Chips leads for $10. Gambling Cleaner calls. Bobby calls. Jets fan calls. Now I can either raise, I can call, a bunch of different options. I decide to call. The turn's a 3, so now I have trips with the nut flush draw. Dr. Straight Chips slows down with a check, and now the Gambling Cleaner bets $25. Bobby folds. Jets fan thinks quite a while before calling. Again, I can raise again, I can call. Bunch of different options. I decide to call again in this spot. The river's the 10 of clubs, so now I've made the nut flush. The Gambling Cleaner bets $35. He's got about $150 to $200. It was kind of hard to see a stack. I asked to see a stack, but I still couldn't figure out what was going on because he's the Gambling Cleaner. His chips are all over the place. The Jets fan folds pretty quickly. I guess he had a straight draw or something. I make it $150, and the Gambling Cleaner folds pretty quickly. He doesn't even really think about it too much, but I have no idea what he had. He's the Gambling Cleaner because he clearly works for some sort of cleaning company by the shirt that he's wearing, and he's playing pretty tight for the most part. I mean, really? Seriously? How can I look at an ace every single hand? It's just unbelievable. I can't even imagine how this is possible looking back at the footage. Anyway, I limp in for $10 on the button straddle. Dr. Straight Chips makes it $35 more. There's 2 calls, but I don't really like my hand that much, so I'm just going to fold pre-flop. We're 40 hands in, so it's time for another stat and stack update. I've won 11 hands and lost 29. I've been dealt an ace in my hand 13 out of the 40 hands. That feels like a lot, and I'm guessing I'm up around $100 at this point. Back into the action. I have 9-6 of hearts in the big blind. Shout out Mike Trout. 5-way limp pot, I check. Flop is king, 9, 4, 2 diamonds. So I have middle pair, but no backdoor draws. And when there's a bet and 2 calls, I decide to just get out of the way. A bunch of quick, boring hands in a row here, so we're going to blaze through them to get to the good stuff. I raised to $10 with king 4 of hearts, get 4 callers. Flop comes jack 6-2. I'm not going to bet into 4 people on this board, so I check and fold to a bet. Limp with 4 deuce of clubs, multi-way again, and fold to a bet on queen 7-6. Call a raise with king 9 offsuit to $10, multi-way once again, and check fold to a bet on ace 7. Call yet another raise to $10 with 8-7 offsuit and have to check fold on Jack 4 with 2 diamonds, so just not hitting any flops right now. I limp Queen 5 offsuit on the button after a couple of limpers, and Dr. Strong Chips or Dr. Straight Chips or whatever I'm calling him makes a raise and I fold. I limp for $10 on the button straddle with 4 deuce offsuit. We go 3 ways. The board comes down 10-5-5 ace king. We just check it down, and somehow my hand does not win at showdown. Trying to make something happen, I raised to $10 with 7-6 offsuit. Bobby puts in the 3-bet. I'm going to fold here. He's been pretty patient. He deserves this one. I knew I shouldn't have said anything about all the good hands I was getting. I got another beauty here, 7-3 offsuit. Put $10 in there pre-flop. Multi-way. Flop is king, queen, 6, and I check fold. Hey, a reasonable hand. Jack 10 offsuit. I've never really liked this hand for some reason. I don't know what it is about it. I like the suited variety of it, but offsuit, not a big fan. I'm feeling a little frisky with it, though, so I make it $25 from the big blind. I get 2 callers. The flop comes king, queen, 7 with 3 diamonds. So I do flop the open ender, but I have no diamonds in my hand. I check, Dr. Straight Chips checks, and the Jets fan bets pretty big, so I just fold. I complete 4 deuce offsuit from the small blind, and we go multi-way. Flop is 9-6-4 with 2 clubs. Checks around, turns a 9, doesn't seem like anybody has anything, so I lead $10, and I get 2 callers. The river's a 4, so I do make a full house. I decided to bet $20 to try to get some value out of maybe a 6 or something like that, but they both fold pretty quickly. Alright, I have some positive momentum. I want a hand. Time to get something going. I raised it $20 after a couple of limpers with Queen 7 of hearts. Get a call from Dr. Straight Chips, a call from Jets fan who's not even really a Jets fan. I mean, is anybody really a Jets fan? And Sweet Lady calls as well. The flop is ace queen 6 with 1 heart, rainbow flop. Good flop for me. I have middle pair. I'm going to play this aggressively and really put a lot of pressure on my opponents. When they checked me, I bet $35. Dr. Straight Chips folds. Jets fan and Sweet Lady both call. The turn is an offsuit 3. I'm going to keep the story up when they check to me. I don't think they have a strong hand very often. I have the betting lead. I bet $100, and they both fold pretty quickly. I might have had the best hand here anyway, but I don't think either of these opponents would have called down with just a weaker ace type hand. What hand do you always love to see, especially after you just played a hand aggressively and the straddle's on the button? I got pocket aces. I make it $50. I get calls from Dr. Straight Chips, Bobby, and the Jets fan. So we're going to take this one 4 ways with about $200 in the pot. It comes 10-9-2 rainbow. It checks to me. I bet $80. Everyone folds back to the Jets fan who calls. The turn is the 7 of spades, so Jack 8 does get there, and the board is getting a little more wet. I need to put a pretty big bet in here. I decided on a sizing of $150. I think I should go larger than that, but that's what I went with. Jets fan makes the call, and we're looking for a safe river card. River's an offsuit 4. That looks like a pretty safe card to me, so I'm going to go for a value bet after he checks. I go to bet $225, but my camera falls over, and he snap folds anyway, so I'm guessing he just had queen jack or maybe turned a flush draw or something like that. I get fake aces the next hand, ace 4 offsuit in a multi-way limp pot, and I just check fold to a bet on queen jack 10. I limp 10-6 offsuit and then fold to a raise. I check my option in the big blind with Jack 3 offsuit and fold to a bet on King 9-2. We have yet another multi-way limper. I have 7-3 of hearts. The flop is Ace 8-3 with 1 heart, so I flop bottom pair. Action checks around. The turn is the Jack of hearts, so I turn that flush draw. Checks to Dr. Straight Chips. He bets $10. I make the call. River's the king of hearts. I decide to lead out here. I don't think he's going to bet again, so I bet $20, or at least I think it's $20, but actually I grabbed a white chip instead of a red chip, so it's $16. He makes the call, sees the bad news, and I get some of those straight chips from the good doctor. I call a raise on the button with queen 7 offsuit to $15, 4 ways. Flop is Jack 8-6, and I fold to a bet. I have queen 10 offsuit and limp fold it pre-flop to the button straddle raise of Dr. Straight Chips. I raise it up with 4-3 of clubs to $10. Multi-way, 10-9-7 flop, not a good flop for me, and I fold to a bet. I limp in with 7-6 offsuit. We go 4 ways to the flop. It comes 6-5-5 rainbow. I should probably bet this flop when it checks me, but I don't bet. Checks around, turns a jack, and someone else bets, and I just fold my hand. The final hand of the session is very anticlimactic. I limp under the gun with 8-3 offsuit. The flop comes queen 10-2, and I fold to a bet and wrap it up. I'm into the game for $500. I cash out $965 for a profit of $465. I played a total of 62 hands. I won 15 of them. Total stats now for the entire Play Every Hand Challenge. This was the 11th session that I've played, and I am now up $1,684. If you want to hear more about what's going on in my life, check out the Raising the Nuts podcast. Search for Raising the Nuts on anywhere you can listen to podcasts, or you can also tune into the live stream every Thursday night, 9:30 Eastern, here on the channel. I also did another interview with DGAF on the Sessions podcast. It's a 2-part interview, so look for the Sessions podcast, and you can find the link below for that in the description. Thanks for watching the videos as always. If you enjoyed them, please give it a like, leave a comment, and I will definitely respond to you, and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you next Thursday with another Play Every Hand video.